Hi there, and welcome to Enterprise AI Innovators, a show where top technology executives share how AI is transforming the enterprise. In each episode, guests uncover the real-world applications of AI, from improving products and optimizing operations to redefining the customer experience. I'm Evan Reiser, the founder and CEO of Abnormal AI.
And I'm Saam Motamedi, a general partner at Greylock Partners.
Today on the show, we have Allen Fazio, Chief Information Officer at Houlihan Lokey, the world's #1 investment bank for mid-cap M&A. Before joining Houlihan, Allen spent 20 years at Disney, running IT for Disney Cruise Line, Disneyland, and Disney Imagineering, so he's seen a few technology revolutions in his time. There were 3 things from our conversation that really stuck with me. First, Allen talked about the orchestration layer problem. What do you put at the center of your AI strategy when there are suddenly 25 different tools competing for attention? Houlihan is betting on training one model on their treasure trove of 20 years of M&A deals rather than fragmented cross-platforms. Second, the speed of this thing is wild. 4 months ago, Allen's team tracked 60 AI products in use across the firm. Yesterday, 190. And that's not even counting the AI quietly embedding itself into every existing tool they already run. And third, and this one may be surprising, Allen said his summer interns were outpacing full-time associates in AI adoption within weeks. The younger you are, the more you're using it, which raises some fascinating questions about how careers in professional services are going to evolve when the entry-level work gets automated. Thanks again for joining today. Maybe Allen, to kick us off, do you mind sharing a little bit about kind of your journey in technology, maybe a little bit about your role today as a CIO?
Well, first, thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be here today. I started my career actually in accounting. I was with a CPA firm, became a CPA early in my career, and everyone's like, "Well, how'd you end up in technology?" My degree was split half and half. Half it was accounting information systems, half an accountant, half MIS and computers. And then the journey went from public accounting. I spent 20 years with Disney theme parks. I ran IT for the Disney Cruise Line. Then moved out to California, became the CIO for Disneyland and Disney Imagineering. And then magically, everyone somehow ended up in investment banking. And so for the last 8 years, I've been with Houlihan Lokey as their CIO, responsible for global IT. When I joined, the company was about $700 million. Today, we're $2.5 billion. So we've been in a absolute growth mode for the last 6-7 years. Again, for someone who switches industries fairly regularly, I love being in the financial services space. But along the journey, it's been laundry facilities, help desks, logistics, point of sale, everything you can think of in the Disney world. So it's been a great journey, and it's times like today where you kind of pull on everything you've ever done to try to figure out what to do next.
I appreciate you sharing. And maybe for some of our audience that are kind of less familiar, do you mind sharing a little bit about Houlihan Lokey and explain kind of what you do? And I think probably it's probably a bigger firm has a bigger impact than probably most people realize. Probably less known as Disney.
I had to look them up and go, what do they do? And so I fully understand when you say Houlihan Lokey, people, is that a law firm? Is that, and so no, we're a global investment bank, but even that could have several definitions, but we specialize in 3 things. We are the #1 in the world in mid-cap M&A. So we will do more M&A transactions between $100 million and $2 billion than anybody else on the globe. So mergers and acquisitions. We're also #1 in the world in debt restructuring, period, regardless of size and scale. So if there's a distressed company or distressed assets in the world, Houlihan is often called in to advise either the creditors or the business itself going through a distressed situation. So things like Toys R Us or Sears, or again, all the way to China and Evergrande. And so anyone who's in distress, we are one of the first calls usually. And then thirdly is our valuation group, financial valuation. And so we value assets, illiquid assets. What are they valued? We work with boards of directors on advisory and assurance. And so our firm is really multifunctional, but those are the 3 major divisions. Probably on top of that is Cap Solutions, where if you need capital for a transaction, we have a whole group of bankers that are world-class at going in and obtaining the necessary capital to help the transaction through. So again, that's what we do. And we do it at a very high level for the mid-cap and or global spaces we play in.
You've been through technology cycles before. Where are we? Help our listeners sort of context set in this cycle and in this hype cycle. And then what's your perspective on AI specifically as it relates to investment banking?
This move to AI has all the same characteristics You've got the veterans in your organization going, I've been doing it the same way for forever. And yet the young people coming in going, wait, this is going to transform the way I do work. And so we're right back into that moment of a revolution on our doorstep. However, this one's going to happen at a speed we've never seen before because it took time to buy everyone computers and network them and decide how to do security and learn how to not get your floppy disk next to a magnet. This one's going to happen at speed, and you're already seeing that. So now we are with AI, and it's coming into the business faster than anyone could ever think. It's not a thing; it's dozens of things. We keep track using our network software of every AI product used. 4 months ago, it was 60. Yesterday was 190. Now, most of them are one-time use, people kicking the tires, but that's just products that say AI. And then AI is seeping into every product we run, every tool we use. It's not AI, go buy AI, go get an LLM. It's coming into the organization in it's not even in trickles, it's in absolute floodplains right now. For investment banking, to bring it around, we are, at our heart, we're a professional services company. We are like a law firm. We are like an accounting firm. We're like a consulting firm. We're not like necessarily a bank or someone with a trading desk doing stocks and so forth. We act a lot like a professional services company, which means our main asset and the main thing we do is have smart people do work. Now, the smart people we have, what do they usually do? Excel, Word, PowerPoint, and a lot of analysis. And what is AI really good at? Analysis, bringing together data, et cetera. So you're seeing this tool set coming into play that is going to fundamentally change how the work is done.
Are there kind of any tips or tricks or that you kind of recommend to help people kind of really explain and educate kind of what's possible? Because I think that not everyone is really on the same page about the real opportunity that AI presents, right? Because today we still see a lot of toys, right? And they're cool. But I think if you looked at what OpenAI or Anthropic is doing, you kind of wrote it off as a chatbot, you might be missing the kind of bigger picture. So any kind of, how do you get people to like open their eyes and realize what's possible and realize that the biggest opportunity is not today, but is what's going to be coming on top of the platforms and technologies that we're currently getting exposed to?
As you're trying to get your organization to move into the AI space, it's one thing to go, here's the new shovel, let me replace your shovel with this new powerful shovel. It's another one just to get them engaged. Just how do you get everyone in your organization to find ways to change just little things in their world every day? And this was going to sound weird. Our favorite one right now is we use an AI tool that takes a look at our email, our meetings and so forth. And our favorite thing right now, and one of my VPs came up with this, is every Friday we say, could you please summarize my week in the form of a Comedy Central roast? And they're brilliant. They are amazing and they're funny. And, they'll say, you were in a meeting with Allen, he was pontificate. I'm like, I wasn't pontificate, but they're wonderful. And we share them. At the end of the week, we share our summary of the week with our peers. And that little moment now leads to, okay, I use the same tool set to say, summarize my week, give me all my action items that I agreed to and all my direct reports and any action item that they signed up for. Instead of my normal process, which is where I forgot about half of the assignments I handed out and I don't follow up on them. And so I am much better on Friday afternoon and Monday mornings than I have ever been before without any earth-shattering change to the way I do things. And here's an example of if you can create these moments where everyone is now jumping on the tool for something that they either find enjoyment of, they like, they see value of, and that leads to the next learning and to the next learning and to the next learning. Now you're building out an innovation culture, not deploying a technology or a tool set.
What are 2 or 3 use cases for applied AI that you're sort of like particularly bullish about that, let's say, your peers at other firms may be underestimating or not as much of believers in, but that you've seen the proof points around and you think can really be transformative?
We've been looking for almost 3 years for what I'll call the orchestration layer. What do we put in the middle of the picture? If you were going to draw a picture of AI, and there's going to be lots of different logos and a lot of different tool sets on that map, what do you put in the middle? What do you put at the core of your AI strategy? And we went out and we talked with Oracle. We flew their AI guys down to one of our guys' houses down in Texas for a couple of days. And we've talked with Microsoft on Fabric, and we've talked with Google on, it was Agent Space, now it's Gemini Enterprise. So what do you put in the center right? Is it ChatGPT? Is it Gemini? What do you put in the middle? Because you're not going to want to train everyone on 25 tools. More importantly, at least for us, whatever we put in the center, we only want one thing to have. We only want to train one model on our unstructured data. We are sitting on a treasure trove of more M&A deals than anybody on the planet, right? We have a history of a 20-year history of M&A deals and bid sets and things like that, and industry analysis that no one else has. We're sitting on this repository. We only want to train one model on our unstructured data. Number two is if we're going to build custom agents, and as we go down agentic AI, we don't want to do that in 5 different tools. So let's build our agents in a place, at least to start. And so what do you put in the center so that your unstructured data and your agents have a place to live? And then as soon as you've got that squared away, now it's what about everything else? There are tools that are specific to our industry that are emerging. There are generic tools like a Grammarly or a Free Pick or that add value, but they're just not core. They're incidental into some of the things we do. And so as you take your core and you start, now you go, wait, what about third-party data? Especially in investment banking, here comes, what about CapIQ and FactSet and Bloomberg and all this rich data? Do we attach to it and bring it into our core, or there are third parties that now have it, that as part of their knowledge base in their AI tool set? So do we buy it and add it, or do we purchase it and add it on, right? So as we think of AI, it's all of the above, plus here comes tool sets that are very specific, like for our legal department. That's a buy. That's a tool for legal that can add value to NDAs, MSAs, immediately raise the bar so that some of the low-hanging tasks in legal are addressed by AI or helped along by AI. So the picture gets big quickly with AI. And the real question now comes back to is how fast can we bring the business along? How quickly can they move and understand the changes in tool sets we're bringing? Because for every tool set we roll out, there'll be a moment of, I like X better than Y. I don't trust it, or I got a bad answer, so I'm never doing it again. Back to the days of Excel. I didn't like it. So the innovation mentality, the culture of innovation that has to happen as we bring all these tools to bear and stack them, and the sequence that we bring them to bear is, to me, is as important as the tool set.
I think professional services broadly, and let's say investment banking as a subset, but also legal and others, is an area where we've seen a lot of early uptake of these AI tools. And I would actually say relative to some other markets, we've seen much faster uptake in professional services. And I think there's a little bit of conversation in the zeitgeist of like, what is the future of professional services, right? And like, and let's say, and again, just to be provocative, one extreme would be like, I can have AI do 80% of the work, and maybe that changes the dynamics of the industry pretty dramatically. The other extreme, which I don't think any of us believe, is like, it's a 10% productivity boost to these organizations, but nothing more than that. Like, where do you think, what does professional services look like in 5 years? Like, what does an AI native investment bank look like?
It's a great question. And I don't think any of us have the answer, but here's how we think about it today. We believe a banker with AI is better than a banker. Okay. We don't believe AI is better than a banker with AI. And so that's the foundation of where we think we're going. Now, that does not mean massive change is not coming. So let's use IT as an example as a service provider. And this will apply to banking or law firms, et cetera. So as we start using AI on my service desk, all right. So now I have my entry-level service desk person has access to a knowledge base that is 100 times better than the one we created 5 years ago. They have access to everything that's happening out in the world around a potential problem. So that makes my entry-level service desk person smarter and better than ever before. What's the ramification of that? Is it I need fewer entry-level analysts, or is it I need fewer high-level analysts because the lower level can do more? Do you stay at that level longer? Do you actually stay at entry level longer because of the capabilities you need to move up? Now the bar has raised of what you have to move up because the AI is making you that much better. I currently have 3 tiers of help desk. Does that move to 2? Does that move to 1? If you talk to people who are leveraging AI to develop software, You still need that ringer who can kind of bring it all together, but you need one of them too. Am I going to become business analyst to be a heavy organization versus a developer organization? So will I grow in some aspects and not in others, or shrink in others? And then you get to how am I going to train a BA if they don't have the lower level tasks to learn? Same thing in investment banking. How are you going to train and create the next generation of MDs if all the lessons that make you a great MD are in being an analyst and associate and doing this type of work that maybe you don't have to do anymore? So what's the lesson you have to pull from the work for the knowledge to succeed in the future versus actually doing it repetitively? Because I think, while to your point, the professional services are all over this, is because there are some very mundane tasks that are very time intensive. And if you've never been an analyst where an MD drops off a 900-page contract on your desk on Friday night and says, can you pull these 30 data elements out of it by Monday? You know what? AI could help me do that. And I'm not sure it hurts anybody if I can solve that problem in minutes versus a weekend. So
I'm curious, if you look back, are there other kind of wins you've had that have been maybe a little bit unexpected, or if maybe there's a CIO listening trying to figure out, hey, how do I put some points on the board and kind of really open people's minds about what's possible with AI? Are there 3 pro tips or 3 easy wins you recommend as kind of to kind of get the ball rolling?
We're probably 6 months away from starting to stack the wins of, hey, here are the agents we built, here's the workflows that have gotten better, and here's how we've started to install this culture of innovation. So I wouldn't say we've had a ton of wins, but it's okay. The story or analogy I tell is it's like, okay, guys, let's jump in my Wayback Machine and let's go back to the late 1800s. And it's like, literally, we're all sitting in St. Louis and there are 1 million covered wagons in town. And every day you're seeing 50 of them head west. And you're like, we got to get going. We got to go. And then you're like, whoa. Half of them don't make it. The other half get there and don't survive. And so we're sitting in town. You can feel the pressure of it's time to head west. We've spent enough time, I think, interviewing other people, seeing what they've done, seeing where their successes are, where it's time for us. We're ready to go. We are stocked up, loaded, ready to go. And we think we have a higher chance of success leaving now than maybe the people who left early and or the people who are going to leave after us. And so no one will know if we're right or wrong for a while, but it's definitely time for us to head west. And we've taken the last year and a half to make sure we have enough of what we think are the right tools and provisions to make the journey.
Are there maybe 1 or 2 areas where you feel you're just maybe kind of looking forward in the short term?
Our focus is this. When I get a report and I see what everyone's trying to do with AI, and believe it or not, it's the younger you are, the more you're doing. Wow, shocking. And so what was great was over the summer, our analysts are the most users of AI, followed by our associates, followed by our VPs, followed by our directors. And so literally, the longer you've been in your career, the less you're spending time with this emerging technology. No surprise. However, what was great was in May when the interns came in, and the interns started, and I watched their line grow, and then they outgrew the associates, and they started to threaten the analysts. And I was like, okay, the interns are all over this technology. So for us, our focus is going to be on that level, right? Let's start with the analyst associates and interns, and let's really focus on their capabilities. Where I think some of our peers are, I'm not saying they're wrong, but where they're spending more time than I'm going to spend is on these high-end use cases. Here's what an MD is doing. Let's see if we can automate an entire industry analysis. I think it's too complex, too 400 level class for let's go do the 100 level work and then move up to the 200 and be smart about how we're approaching it. We're not going to be able to contain it because you're going to have, the minute you start on the 100 level class, you've got the banker who's coming out of the big 4 accounting firms going, I want to be able to do this, and the 400 level action items come at you really quick. It's being able to control those and keep only authorizing the right ones and a limited number of them while you work on the 100 level class with the analysts and associates and so forth. Because if we can really change the way they're doing their work, we can then move up to the next level. And because what our fear is any senior executive, when all of a sudden it doesn't work the way they think it should, they'll back away from it. And they'll back way too far away. It'll be, this doesn't work. This is crazy. I don't need computers. And so you want to avoid the poisoning of the well by the seniors while the juniors get to learn new capabilities that, again, the senior level people never had. And so you've got to make room for that. And again, back to a culture of innovation, you've got to go to the MDs and directors and talk to them about what time and what they have to do to help the analysts and associates, because they have to find room to play or try and fail. And we're usually on very tight timelines. And so if you don't create the right culture, you're going to find all your analysts and associates are doing this on their own, buying their own AI tools, potentially taking client data and running it through something that's not sanctioned. And that's where you get into the heavy rules and regulations. The heavy regulation in our industry makes it very fascinating to navigate.
Allen, my impression, which I'm sure is, 80% right and 20% wrong, is like in investment banking, if I join as a new analyst, like the way I differentiate myself historically is through like intense work ethic and then like this almost zero defect craftsmanship, perfect models, immaculate decks, the 2 a.m. revisions and work that you talked about. And that's how I might stand out and progress my career as an individual. Now, if I fast forward and like you've deployed the 100 and 200 classes of AI agents and they're able to do these things for me, one perspective I hear out there is like, okay, well then how does young talent and new talent differentiate themselves and progress their careers if the very thing that was the thing they differentiated on, AI is just a lot better at? And so what would your response to that be? And like if I was joining, let's say I'm 20 years old and I'm 2 to 3 years out from joining, a firm like yours as an analyst. And so let's assume AI's progressed and you've automated even more of the kind of 100 and 200 series work. Like, what would your advice to Saam be? What would you look for that's different in hiring me than maybe what you would have looked for 10 years ago? And then what would you tell me to focus on to like advance my career?
Great question. And I would say I am living proof at going back to the fact that we're here again. I came out of college with this accounting computer thing that no one knew what to do with. You are going to come out of college, young 20-year-old, with, if you do it right, with skills that no one prior to you had. And so if you're going to come into investment banking, the days of being a pivot table expert are coming to an end. You still need to know that. You still need to be good at it. But the new currency for you that's going to separate you, and I think be an early accelerator for your career, is how to bring this new technology to bear. And what I mean by that is again, if you're going to do an analysis with AI, we also know that, again, you can get a hallucination. Maybe it's not 100% right. So are you going to be able to do the analysis, potentially check it in ways that's better than the person before you? It won't be, I did the spreadsheet better. It's, I had AI do the analysis. I was able to check it, and I was able to bring back a 9900% answer versus my peer who brought back a 96% answer. And so again, you're going to see the questions change immediately in the interview process. I thought it was going to be things like R and certain software languages. It's not. AI's passed all that up. And so the mastering of these tool sets this is an exciting time. You have a chance to not just come in and brute force and your way into an industry. And wouldn't it be great if an analyst in investment banking didn't mean 90-hour, 100-hour weeks, that you could actually do it in 50, 60 hours and have the same lessons? So I'm excited if you're 20 years old. But if you're 20 years old trying to use the existing playbook that your teachers are probably telling you, you better open up a new playbook and you better bring these new skills to bear, because it's going to be a race. And the fun, there's two components to investment banking. One, we call the rule of 99. If it's 99% accurate, is it good enough for an investment banker? If you could be 99% right, but 50% faster, is that a trade-off that you would do in a pitch? If you're pitching work, would you make the trade-off of 50% less costly for 1% less accurate? Or would you feel that no, that's not an equitable trade-off in this industry? I don't know the answer to that yet. That will play out. And then the same thing happens when it becomes the work you're doing as part of a buy side or sell side or a debt restructuring effort. So the rule of 99 is an important question mark, okay? Number two is regulations, because the regulators are behind in this space. And so think about investment banking. Very simple concept. Can we record the meeting? Okay? Can we record the meeting? Up till now, if you and I are meeting, we don't have to keep a record of the conversation. But the minute it's digitized, it becomes something that must be retained. So all of a sudden, now conversations that bankers are in are being recorded, which means they have to be retained. But the rules aren't defined yet. Do I have to keep the verbatim of the call? Do I have to keep the recording? Can I keep a summary of the call? But wait, the summary of the call is based on what I asked AI for. And so how I ask for the notes can drive what's in them. And so from a regulatory perspective, right, we're in a little bit of uncharted territory. And so again, new person coming in, this is going to be interesting on how you navigate the rules and regulations of everything we have. Because you both know this. Every time you go to a presentation about your company, you have the, I forget what it's called, the safe harbor. You have to do the safe harbor rules, right? If I'm a banker and you say you want to record the call, should I have a 3x5 card where I read a certain statement that says, hi, I understand this is being recorded. I'm Allen Fazio from Houlihan Lokey, and I accept the use of this in the following ways. Am I supposed to do that? And we're talking to law firms, for how does that work, right? It hurts your head after a while. So 20-year-old, I am so excited for you. This is a chance for you to absolutely accelerate into a new world where, again, it won't be the MD stepping into it, most of them. It will not be the director stepping into it. Some of the VPs will, but you're now going to be up against, again, a group of associates and analysts that if you come in with a better skill set, back in the day, understood a computer, you're going to have everyone else over your shoulder going, what are you doing? How are you doing it? So exciting.
In the last couple of minutes, I'd love to kind of switch like a bit of a lightning round just because we got a little bit of time left. So we're kind of looking for, Sam and I got like 4 or 5 questions. We're looking for like kind of the one tweet response to questions that are very difficult to answer in one tweet. So please forgive us in advance. So Sam, you want to kick it off for us?
Yes. So maybe to start, Allen, how do you think companies should measure the success of a CIO in this AI era?
Are they facilitating the firm moving into the new world?
So Allen, I think one thing, Sam, I've been very impressed by is like you're very up to date on the technology. You've kind of thought through it deeply. How do you recommend for other CIOs to kind of stay up to date on the latest AI trends, whether it's technology or applications? Like any advice you'd have for an incoming CIO that's trying to get up to speed and try to do exactly what you just said a minute ago?
Yeah, probably 3 things real quick. Both network with others, leverage everyone. I spend a lot of time with venture capital. I spend a lot of time at dinners with companies and do a lot of pilots. You've got to spend the time. And most people are not doing that. I probably am out to dinner 3-4 times a week. And again, I would tell the young person, 60% of the time, it was a bad night, but 40% you walk home with knowledge. So you gotta keep swinging.
So maybe switching gears to the personal side, I'm curious if there's a book you've read recently that's had a big impact on you and why.
There's, I'm trying to find it here. Ashwin Rangan, one of my friends down here, CIO, just wrote a book on AI governance and the concept of how to govern this space. And again, I wish I could find it here. It's buried somewhere. So I'm usually caught between 3 different books: a leadership book, a technology book, and a science fiction book. And so I'm usually all 3 of those simultaneously. And I was up at Google and I'm reading Snow Crash from 1993, which is again, everyone tells me it's a classic, but I'm stepping back in time on this one. So
it's surprisingly relevant today. Actually, the fact it's so relevant is just speaks to the, I guess, imagination of Neil Stephenson. So it's a good one. Oh, at some point we'll have to trade some sci-fi book recommendations. I'm same as you. I got like a business book, a sci-fi book, kind of like in parallel, usually, almost always. Okay, so the answer doesn't have to be AI, but it may be. But what's a new technology that you're feeling just personally excited about? Doesn't have to necessarily be work related.
New technology. Oh, okay. I am totally into right now what I call leave a legacy. My dad's getting older. We got older parents and things like that. My mom passed a couple years ago. So all the technologies that are let my dad leave a legacy. So things like Memento and things I can let him tell a story. And again, with AI under the covers, the ability for him to answer like a lot of questions and have an AI allow my granddaughter to ask him a question when he's long gone and him answer it with the knowledge. That to me is fascinating as heck right now because the clock's ticking. I mean, we're going to lose. And a lot of us are at that age where our parents are in their 80s right now. Now is the time, and you can't wait for new technology. So leveraging all the new technology that's out, that used to be, your heritage and where you're from and your family tree. This is a whole nother level, and I think it lets, I call it letting your parents leave a legacy versus just opening up a book and saying, here's a picture of your grandparents that they never had a chance to meet. Those are the technology I'm most interested in right now.
Really cool. Appreciate you sharing.
What do you think is going to be true about AI's impact, generally speaking now, like 10 years from now on the world generally, that most people still would consider science fiction?
I think the biggest impact will be in 10 years will be 30-year-olds or 40-year-olds turning to the fresh faces and going, you know how we used to have to do that, right? You know how we used to have to do, we used to have to do it the hard. We used to have to walk uphill both directions to school. You have it so much easier than us. And so I think that will be in play at this point, right? But at the same time, again, it's never that simple. It'll be the pain also that goes with it. Oh, you don't get it. I did this with AI and I totally, it cost the firm $50,000 because I didn't know what it was going to cost to run it. And you guys have access to bigger data sets and more information. We had limits on us. And so again, it'll be the old man story to the young face, but it'll be done with, again, all the capabilities that came into. And again, I feel like I've lived it. It's exactly what we told people of before Oh, you've got computers to do that. Okay. It's same story, different timing.
Okay. Final question. I know we gotta run. So Alan, what advice would you give to up and coming technology leaders?
Yeah. So run and hide. Marketing's much easier. No, that's not the right answer. What I would say is this. A couple of things you have to be at the crossroads of a couple of things. Number one is you have to talk business. You cannot just purely talk tech in today's world. You've got to speak in terms that the business understands. And so my advantage was I started as an accountant. I can talk financials. I can convert tech to business. I tell stories. Deliver almost everything in story format. Even if you're the most technical and you have the right answers, I work with brilliant people who are much smarter than me, but they cannot convey the message the right way. And so things like storytelling, things like how to communicate, those are critical to your success. And I think people would tell you, you're going to have to be technically great. You're going to have to be that, but it won't be enough. And so make sure you're focused on your soft skills. Make sure you're working on these other components, because at some point, there's enough really good technical people. There's too few people who can convert that into a way that the business can consume it, fund it, support it, and keep you in your job long enough to get it done.
Appreciate you sharing, Alan. I wish we had some more time, but I know we're at the end of the episode. So thank you so much for joining us. I really enjoyed the conversation.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, Alan.
That was Allen Fazio, Chief Information Officer at Houlihan Lokey.
Thanks for listening to Enterprise AI Innovators. I'm Saam Motamedi, the General Partner at Greylock Partners.
And I'm Evan Reiser, the founder and CEO of Abnormal AI. Please be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Learn more about enterprise AI transformation at enterprisesoftware.blog. This show is produced by Abnormal Studios. We'll see you next time.